This is Contestants Not Appearing on Stage, a weekly podcast for game show enthusiasts. Episode number 11, Episode XI, recorded February 6th, 2016. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Contestants Not Appearing on Stage, episode number 11, as you heard in the introduction. I am Torgo, and let's see who joins me this week.
Hi, I'm Jordan, aka Unique Perspective. You probably know this already. And I was going to retire after tomorrow's game, but I think I might want to go to Los Angeles now.
My name's Adam, Road Geek Adam, and I'm only hoping that the entire stadium falls apart tomorrow.
I'm the newbie to the group. I'm Bill Wild. My nickname, I'm Bill, Wild Bill, one half of the Gridiron Graduates. Shameless plug for my podcast. Hello, everybody. Hello, friends.
Good enough.
I'm JJ, aka The Price is JJ Man 920, and I'm here so I don't get fined and so I can bring up a year-old reference to a player currently not playing in this year's Super Bowl.
I'm Randy, aka Punchboard 91, and I choose you, Pikachu. I don't watch football, so I have no idea what to say.
And I'm Nick, and Lucy wants me to kick a football.
And it just so happens that Bill has to be in this episode because Bill is probably more well-versed in sports and football than any of us are. But we're going to start by talking about yesterday's The Price is Right episode, February 5th, and that is the CBS Super Bowl 50 special. The first thing you'll notice as soon as you watch the show is it's probably the first instance of the show that doesn't have the theme song anywhere in the episode. I thought that was very interesting to just remove that entirely and replace it with
not
the
entirely.
NFL on CBS. Well, the opening, the closing,
The in-between.
the in-betweens. I mean, they really wanted to hammer in that it was CBS with the Super Bowl. Do you think that the Super Bowl theme actually stretched a little too far into the workings of the episode, or do you feel that it was a welcome change of pace, that we actually had a special that stayed on topic the entire time, as opposed to, hey, it's Socially Awesome Week, we're going to mention something for one segment, that's it.
I feel like it was definitely a welcome change because, like, when they had Pet Adoption Week, hey, it's Pet Adoption Week. Oh, wait, it's only this one segment. Oh, what's the point of it being a week if it's only, the one segment of the show, whereas this, you definitely felt like it was a special, like, it was maybe the theme was a little overdone as far as, there were some complaints as far as the portion of the theme they chose. There was like an awkward pause there for a little bit, you could definitely tell, but I mean, otherwise I think it was definitely a welcome change.
What would have made the cue work is if they actually did the full cue, as Randy kind of hinted to. They basically just did the 30-second version of it, and then it actually looped quite a few times, mainly during the initial call down. And I guess the problem I have is that if it were the full 2-minute cue, I'd be okay with it.
I mean,
but it felt like a bit of a cop-out just doing a 30-second segment over and over and over and over again.
It just felt like I was in my worst nightmare. I'm watching the same NFL game on CBS with Solomon Wilcots and Dan Fouts, and I was like, why are we repeating this over and over and over again? But it was different. I enjoyed it, because we haven't had a lot of specials that have been like all encompassing in terms of the episode. We had Decades Week, we had Halloween, breast cancer awareness, maybe Thanksgiving and Christmas, but those holidays always count as, they do those every year. So it was nice that this Super Bowl special, since it was a grand Super Bowl, CBS is covering it, they were able to really go all in on it.
And they do Decades Week every year.
Oh, well, that doesn't count either, yeah.
Honestly, I enjoyed it. I mean, having also the notability of having 6 models for only the second time in Price history on one show, because Maurice Jones-Drew and Ike Taylor, now of NFL Network, I believe, are also doubled as extra models. Yet, there's also been pointed out, Amber was noticeably not present yesterday.
Well, I think someone noted that Amber was busy with some other prior engagement somewhere far away from Studio 33, so they hired...
Actually, me that posted that, something like that.
I'm just glad Amber didn't have an accident with a trampoline.
Yes.
But I thought the game selection was good. We kind of figured Cover Up was going to rear its head, but with the cover up the logo for the Broncos, cover up the logo for the Panthers and whatnot. The only downside I felt, and I know it was a necessity, is I just got tired of seeing Hyundais. I know Hyundai's the official automotive sponsor of the Super Bowl, but when you have 4 cars in the show and every single one is a Hyundai, and not even the good Hyundais, like they had the Tucson in the showcase, but then they had an Accent, they had an Elantra, the Veloster. They could have thrown an Equus in there, I felt.
It reminds us of the good old days of the Honda days back in season. I think that was 38, 39.
I think
American Honda Corporation.
I think I'm just a little disappointed that they for a week of low budget shows that this one didn't at least offer something a little more reasonable than just a plain old Tucson. I mean, offer like something interesting. Make a reason why this should be such a special prize showcase.
Well, you have to remember that when we had Michael Irvin on the show earlier this season, they also offered a Hyundai Tucson.
I wanted, when I saw the showcases coming up, I was like, oh, I'm hoping that they've got a big car. But, obviously, since this is an NFL thing, they've got the guys from the NFL Network. They're going to put the official car of the NFL out there. So I'm like, okay, what's the most expensive Hyundai? That's probably what we're going to get, even though I would have liked to have seen perhaps a BMW or a Corvette or something. So
what ranks as the highest Hyundai at this moment?
I think someone said it was the Equus.
Yeah.
So it definitely seems like they threw a lot of NFL stuff, and I'll just throw in my 2 cents with the theme as well. Like at the beginning, like it was nice. Like, oh my gosh, like the NFL and CBS theme, like this is really cool. Like during the first 4 call down, but then a lot of the parts, like throughout the show, they're playing the theme. It's like this just feels like thrown in and forced. It just felt like pretty repetitive, and like other people have said, with like how very short how quickly it looped, I should say. And like the awkward pause, but I mean, like that's part of the theme. So, I didn't mind it at first. As it wore on, it was just like, well, okay, it's whatever, I guess.
It almost gave off the impression that the Foley lost the entire soundtrack to the show and was like, oh no, we only have one song. Loop it over. Here we go. But there were 2 things that I especially liked about the Friday show. The first one is I really liked what they did with Drew's introduction onto the stage. How they had the models dressed as cheerleaders, 2 flanking each side of the door. They had the fog jets on each side of door number 2 as Drew came out. I thought that was really cool to see. And the other one, which was a complete accident, they couldn't control this at all, is we had 2 overbids on the same item up for bids, which is something we haven't seen in 3.5 years, something like that on the show, because those of you who watch the show know how tightly edited the show is these days, and they cut out a lot of overbids. But to have a dive, as we like to call it, a dive on an item up for bids, and then followed by another one, that was kind of a rare treat to see, even though that's something that most people watching the show think is no big deal. It was just something that they actually had the time, and they paced the show well enough that they were able to have that in there. I thought that was nice.
Just a clarification, the date is December 20th, 2012.
So yeah, 3.5 years more or less.
Right before the end of the world, apparently.
I liked that the contestants wore jerseys. I also liked that they did not restrict them to just Broncos jerseys and Panthers jerseys. But I also like that they had contestants who didn't have jerseys. So that shows that, hey, we know it's a Super Bowl themed show, but you don't have to be docked out in a super expensive jersey in order to be called on down. I thought that was nice.
Well, I mean, not everyone who watches Price is Right is going to be a football fan, but some people might just be in Los Angeles anyway.
It kind of gives me hope that for the Valentine's show, that if they run out of couples, they just call some guy named Richard down all by himself. Like, well, we like him better, so get in there. Which is a nice little segue that next week, Valentine's Day. We have the Valentine's Day special, another couples episode of The Price is Right. I mean, you could hit or miss with the couples episodes, but Valentine's Day being couples is something that they've done for quite some time. Have they confirmed that it's engaged couples, or is it just couples that are together, married?
I think they said married couples, because Let's Make a Deal is doing singles, I believe, and then I think they might be matching it up. If I watch the video right, they match you up with someone or something like that.
Well, that's
Maybe I
what they did on
misread.
Price last year.
I'm looking at the calendar. It says it's newlyweds.
Bob Eubanks guest hosting.
So, do we like the Valentine's Day specials that they've done in the past? What do you think that they're going to do differently this season? I guess not to top it per se, but just to change things up a little bit.
Do they have to do anything to change things up, though? I mean, it's Valentine's Day. It's like Christmas, they don't necessarily have to do anything different, but, they have the decorations and whatnot. Valentine's Day, they can have decorations and have the couples, but what is there needed to be different? It's not like April Fool's Day or Halloween that they need to switch to, stay
true.
current.
I just hope we don't have one of those. Well, since it's newlyweds, they won't have like the guest wedding, like you and 21 other people, for like a $30,000 trip, and then they throw in like Secret X or something. So at least we won't be getting that, but maybe they'll be like the dream second honeymoon, which will probably happen.
They showed that in the promo. They have a second honeymoon trip.
Is that the Italy
that
trip?
someone will be playing. Yes.
I guess
It's worth $42,228.
But no, I guess my problem is that I feel like I'm getting a bit tired of the couple shows in general, because I feel like with the idea of a couple show, they're like, hey, let's throw an idea on the wall to make a couple show happen. Because they've done the Valentine's Day couples, they've done engaged couples, they've done newlywed, they've done blind date. I feel like there's only so many ways that you can make a couple show special.
What do you want them to do? Men and their mistresses.
It's the special threes a crowd tribute episode of The Price is Right.
Special guest Jim
My
Peck.
But my point being is that I feel like the idea of a special couple show is getting a bit tiring to me. Why not just have a couple show for the sake of having a couple show if you're going to keep the idea going, I guess is my point. And
Well, do you, I assume you've watched Wheel of Fortune lately. We have 4 consecutive weeks of couples going on Wheel of Fortune. I know this is Family Week. Last week was Teen Best Friends Week. I assume next week's like some sort of Sweethearts Week for Valentine's Day, and I don't remember what the last one. It might be Girlfriend Getaways or whatnot. So, I mean, Wheel of Fortune is a lot worse than Price is Right is, as far as so many couples. How much can you do? Like we're doing Girlfriend Getaways. Seems a little bit too much to me.
Too much. 4 straight weeks is too much. I'm sorry.
let me ask this, Randy, since you're more of a Wheel of Fortune watcher than a lot of us, do you feel like the Wheel of Fortune fan base you include and people you know appreciate all of these couples, or do you and the fan base get tired of it like I feel I'm getting tired of it from Price is Right?
Well, when you say fan base, are you saying like us type of people that watch game shows, more often than like the Joe Plinkos or Jenna Wheels or whatever you want to say for Wheel of Fortune?
Well, in general, let's say people who watch Wheel of Fortune every day or as often as possible. Let's put it in that category.
I think that the fan base that are kind of people like us are getting sick of it because it may not have been if they'd split up the weeks or whatnot. But I understand for whatever reason they're like, ooh, couples week, that's great for February is sweeps, and I understand Valentine's Day is sweeps. That's where the couples week's going to go. I understand that, but I feel like the Joe. I don't know what the Wheel of Fortune is called, like that's just kind of watches it not on necessarily a daily basis, but just it's on, I'll watch it.
Casual fan.
Yeah, I don't think it makes a difference. I think that they're gonna notice, hey, there's 4 weeks of teams, like this is unusual. I don't think it helps anybody watch it. They're not like, oh great, this is couples, I'm gonna watch the show. I don't think it helps bring anything to the show. I don't think that it changes it or anything personally.
And I mean, we're talking about, The Price is Right having couples for a few of its themed shows. We're talking Wheel of Fortune. We're talking about pretty much a month's worth of shows. It's all couples. And like, Randy was saying, even for the regular folks, I think they're going to notice, geez, are they still doing couples? Did they change the format or something? That's what people are going to probably start saying. For Price, it's fine. I think, yes, they're going to run out of ideas to do for Valentine's Day, but it's Valentine's Day. You always run out of ideas to do for Valentine's Day. Like, what gift am I going to give you this year, honey? Well, I'm sorry, I can't upgrade you to the diamond ring. I'm still going to have to get you a box of chocolates. So if The Price is Right still has to repeat whether or not they do engaged couples or married couples or newlywed couples, It's fine because this is one of those holidays that it repeats, and we still go along with it because we love the person we're with.
Before we go ahead and talk about the next topic, I have to backtrack a little bit because there's one thing we didn't mention. Earlier this week, they had something that we had been kind of alluded to in the past, and that is the Manuela trampoline incident. One of the items up for bids on one of the shows earlier this week was the personal fitness trampolines. We've seen it once or twice before, and they had Manuela and Rachel on them. And a little later in the show, Drew's like, well, Manuela hurt her ankle, so she had to sit out the rest of the show, and Rachel had to perform all the modeling by herself that day, a one-model show. Which leads me to the following question. With the fitness trampolines and George always coming out on the Funky Duck hoverboards, even though they're not really hoverboards, that's a pet peeve of mine. Do you feel like the show should offer less strenuous, less engaging one-up bids with the models putting themselves in danger, or do you feel like that's just part of the job?
I think it's considered part of the job, and then it also considers, are we considering George a model or not? Like, he got so much attention and whatnot from that whole treadmill thing that now every time a treadmill comes on, he's like, oh my gosh, it's a treadmill. And then that's where, the hover, whatever that thing came out. He was like, I'm going to try my best not to fall out. People are hoping that he's going to fall off because then it's, funny. And, I'm not necessarily saying again that The Price is Right wants him to fall off, if they do, obviously not hurt himself. But if he were to fall off of that, it's going to go viral and it's going to bring attention to The Price is Right.
Which is exactly what they want in the end of it. I mean, it's ratings. And I'm pretty
sure Price is Right would not want a car to crash into their audience, hurting everyone.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. But like when Rachel crashed the door, when she did it the second time, it was April Fool's Day, so it was planned. And when she did it the first time, I guess it was, back when Bob was there and there wasn't as much internet hype as there is now. But if it were to happen on a normal show now, like it did back when Bob was there, that would go viral, stuff like that, so I'm not necessarily saying,
well, it depends actually, because remember the Mother's Day special, I forgot whoever they had on there, some random guest that no one heard of. They let him drive the Lucky 7 car out and he crashed it, and they actually just cut it out of the show. They put it up as an online exclusive and it didn't really go anywhere in terms of viral.
But I feel like had they not cut it out of the show, it would have maybe gone more viral, people tweeting when they see it, and it was it was Johan's Brugger or something or other. I don't know who that is, but Florence Henderson was with it. Then people are like, oh my gosh, Mrs. Brady just ran into the door or something. People tweeting about it. And I feel like had they kept it in, which I don't know why they took it out, but
I don't know.
It just seems like that's what they want ultimately. Like I said, going back to the whole Manuela thing, obviously, if she fell and hurt herself like she did, they're not going to want that to go viral because she actually hurt herself. But, if she fell off and was fine, then they're like, oh, ha, ha, ha. And then it goes viral because she's okay.
But I think it really is a on-the-job thing. This is not a new thing. They've offered, this is one thing I actually miss, is they used to offer bikes on the show as item up for bids, and the models would come out and ride the bikes out onto the stage. They don't really do that. They just walk the bikes out if they offer bikes and the item up for bids in the first place. So, it's not an easy job. People might think modeling is an easy job, and it's not. Strange and odd things can happen while you're on the job.
And I mean, to Torben's initial point of should the show not offer the prizes as much, I mean, a lot of the prizes have a certain amount of risk. You have the hoverboards, you have the trampolines, you have the bikes where something could happen. In theory, there's risk with a hot tub. Someone could hurt themselves or worse.
But they don't fill the hot tubs with water.
If you ask Roger Goodell, there's risk in sitting on your couch.
Well, but no offense, but any prize can have something happen. I mean, take the, one from the 70s, the fridge that started to fall on Janice from the 70s. It's like, it's a new fridge. Oh, we'll offer this because, nothing's going to happen. It starts to fall over like anything. I mean,
remember, this is not the first time a model has had to go it alone in the showcases. I think it was Janice who had to complete the second showcase after Kathleen and Holly got injured over I don't know, like a tilting oven or something in one showcase. So it happening is not new.
And not to mention the whole thing with Janice's camera accident where she was gone for, I think a month worth of shows. It was gone over, I think, several months, but because it was their summer hiatus or something, she only missed like a month worth of shows. But, it's like anything can happen. I understand, trampolines and hover stuff, are more prone to accidents like that.
Especially with the hoverboards being in the news because some of them just catch on fire spontaneously.
But if it's something that, after this incident, Manuela's not comfortable with going on a trampoline, I'm sure they wouldn't force her to do it. They just have either the other model or then they just bring out George, who seems to be fine with doing this stuff. So
or just have a model stand next to it. I mean, everybody, I think, knows how a trampoline works.
It's a fluke accident. Things are going to happen. Plus, I'm sure CBS gives these guys quite the insurance package. I don't think we have really much to worry about. Let's not go all PC, no offense, and go get rid of these prizes because someone might get hurt on one of them.
I mean, listen, that's like saying let's get rid of chugs and tugs because somebody might punch the gas on it too quick. Model goes flying off the back.
Chugs and tugs are the Price is Right train and tugboat, respectively. You don't see them very often, but they bring out items up for bids once in a while. Rarely you'll see them in showcases. But moving on to another show, we're going back to Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, even though we swore up and down it was going to be canceled. We're talking Kids Millionaire is a thing that is happening now. Whiz Kids Millionaire.
I believe we've had Whiz Kids before.
Do we think it's going to be a success? Do you think it's just they're trying anything now that they've been renewed to try and keep the show pertinent and relevant to people watching? Or do you think it's just a fun little, someone wanted to do it, was have a little good time with it?
I think they've been doing it for a while now, so it's not like it's a new thing.
Yeah, they certainly did it at least during the Terry season. I thought it worked fine during the Terry season. They actually got kids, from what I remember, who were pretty smart for their age. There was a pretty well-known clip of one of the kids actually using math to solve one of the math questions, which if you've seen the Millionaire math questions, you find that isn't always the case. And I think it's fine. I think for the most part it flows for the most part like Millionaire, except with younger contestants, which, by the way, Millionaire has done before. Millionaire way back in 2000 had episodes with kids and their parents, like I said, as far back as Regis. So it's nothing new. I don't think it hurts anything more than anything with Millionaire has hurt it lately.
And I mean, one of the things is that, kids are refreshing. Their disposition, their attitudes, they're different than what we might see from an adult. So to have them on any program, I think makes it at least different and fun for that one day or 1 week that they're doing it. That's why I like it when, we have Kids Week on Jeopardy, because it's fun to see kids who, it's fun to see people who don't act like adults, who perhaps might not be as arrogant or as stupid. The kids might end up being smarter than the adults, come in and really show their worth. And so they've been doing, like I said, they've been doing this for a while. And the clip that they shown from this week, again, proves that kids are just as fun as adults.
Do you think that having kids on these... we have the kids special on The Price is Right. We've had kids and teens on Wheel of Fortune. We have kids on Millionaire. Do you think that the demand is there to the point where they could try having more kid-based game shows on the regular, on like Disney Channel or Nickelodeon, or even on a major network on like Saturday mornings or something?
I don't know if the demand's there. I don't know if they were to try a series like that. I don't know how much it would really catch on.
The last one that tried never actually even made air, which was Our Little Genius, the reverse version of Fifth Grader.
In their defense, there was a cheating thing going on.
I'm aware. I'm just bringing it up as...
Oh, that's nice.
Listen, I would love to see, a Wheel 2000 come back that wasn't as condescending with its material. Like, hey, kids, come online. This is a brand new thing. I think they could bring back a kids version of Wheel. And Disney Channel did try a kids version of Win, Lose, or Draw.
I do remember that, yeah, with celebrities.
So I think there could be a market there, but I don't know if it's like the largest market. Like, I definitely don't think it's a market big enough for a major network. But for one of those cable networks out there, I definitely think if they teamed up with Sony or Fremantle, they could come up with a good kids hit.
No, bring back Mad Libs.
Yeah.
Which is funny because this is going back a bit, but Adam and I went to a Wheel of Fortune taping like about 3 years ago. And in that taping, Jim Thornton was asking questions about the audience, and a kid asked Jim Thornton whether there would be a kid's version of Wheel of Fortune. And I got two interesting things out of that. One is that the kids are interested in competing on game shows, which that might be a good niche to fill, kids who want to compete.
Jordan, I don't think it's a magical discovery that kids like money as well.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. But Adam, what I remember you basically hated the idea as soon as the kid said it.
Let me be perfectly honest. I have forgotten that.
So I mean, I think it's interesting that the kids themselves are interested, but then there's also people who wouldn't stand watching a kids show. Perhaps even people in this call who wouldn't stand watching a kids show.
I guess some of it is I'm afraid of another Wheel 2000 situation where they just ruin the entire purpose of the show. I mean, Scott Sternberg is, I'm going to censor what better language I'd like to use about him, but he ruined, with Jep and Wheel 2000, I think really ruined the idea of both shows. For me, at least.
The problem I have with it, and this is a terrible opinion to have on a podcast, is that I'm honestly really indifferent to the idea of a kids' game show. I'm 28 years old. I'm not going to sit there and seek out a children-oriented game show at this stage in my life. The only time I think I would at this point is when I have children a couple of years down the line. And then that'd be great. That'd be something that they can understand the material and get some enjoyment out of it. But for a new, and I'll watch like Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego on YouTube and stuff from my childhood, mostly to just have a surge of nostalgia and just kind of get the experience off that. But in terms of new kid stuff, I mean, I don't watch Nickelodeon. I don't watch Disney Channel now. So I feel like since it's not meant for me, it's hard for me to have a true opinion based on whether or not they should do it. I mean, sure, go for it. If it works, it works. But I won't be heartbroken if it doesn't.
I think the reason why we have at least some opinion on it is that I think we're all people who, as kids, watched a good amount of kids' game shows, and we'd love to see the idea work for a new generation, which is why I think a lot of us are having any opinion at all. Like, in a way that I agree with you that I'm not going to be watching it anymore, but thinking back to things like Legends of the Hidden Temple, Double Dare, Figure It Out, those were some fun times, and it'd be good for someone to have it for the new generation. And I guess last thing I'll say about it is that I wonder when we were talking last time about how television in the medium is moving online. Do you think a kids' game show could work in an online-only format, especially since more and more of today's kids are getting exposed to sort of online and the web culture at an early age?
I think this doubles up with something that we mentioned last week, where the idea of a Netflix-exclusive game show is probably a great idea. Why not double up on that market and make the Netflix-exclusive game show a kids' game show? They have kid-exclusive content on Netflix as it is. If you go in through the menus, you have to choose whether you're a kid or an adult. I say throw that on there. If they can do House of Cards, have some Netflix-exclusive stuff for kids on there, too. They're making the money. They can totally do it.
Yeah, it's similar to like what Crackle has with Sports Jeopardy. You know, like that online and exclusive show.
That'll work better for parents' schedules and whatnot, because let's face it, a lot of the kids' television that they have, kids can't watch because they're in school or they go to bed early, get their particularly young ages and whatnot. So if they have something available on Netflix or on YouTube only or something like that, they can watch it at their leisure.
Regardless, tell us what you think.
That's true. It's an interesting topic about the idea of whether a kid show should work, and if they do, what format should they use. So yeah, leave a comment down there in the comments section and let us know how you feel about the idea of a resurgence of kids game shows. Before we duck out, I want to talk briefly about the Jeopardy College Tournament that's been going on. And we've had an entire week of coin flips, if you really think about it. Coin flips with the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. Coin flips with the Democratic primaries, the caucuses in Iowa, which we're not really going to talk about because this is not a political podcast. And coin flips and the Jeopardy College Tournament to break the ties. Mm-hmm. What do we think about them using that to break the ties as opposed to some other metric?
Well, I guess the context is that I think a lot of people were saying that people on Jeopardy should be using coin flips compared to what actually happened in the college championship when 3 people were tied for 2 slots, and then the explanation was very long about how the tiebreaker is the score going into Final Jeopardy, but then that was tied, so then the than the score at the end of regular Jeopardy. And so people were wondering whether there needed to be a quicker method. And my problem is that with Jeopardy always being a skill game, you have to pass the test to get in first and foremost, and it being a generally knowledge-centric based game show, I don't like the idea of that being all thrown away because of luck. Not that there isn't luck in Jeopardy with category selection and whatnot, but to have something that important decided via luck would be something that would rub me the wrong way.
I think you would only want to reserve that for if they were tied at the beginning of the Jeopardy, at the end of the Jeopardy round as well. I mean, at that point, there's nothing you can do metrics-wise that isn't like counting up
no.
how many you got right.
No, you can do strength of schedule. Definitely.
Yeah, just do what would have happened had the Colts get in the playoffs. Just go about 6 tiebreakers down. Be like, because this person got this many questions right, and his other opponent got X number of questions right than this person.
Or since it's the college tournament, use their schools against them. Like, oh, I'm sorry, Jimmy, Alabama lost to LSU, so
look
Tim's going through.
I'm pretty sure Jimmy from the Clue Crew would be disqualified anyway. But
and I'm pretty sure. So if they're tied at the end of the Jeopardy round, I'm pretty sure then they go back clue by clue to determine for who breaks the tie. I believe is how they do it.
I don't know if they actually said that, but I feel like
I haven't watched that yet, but I believe that's what somebody stated on one of the fan-based forums was that's what they do. Is this was in the official rules that they saw or something like that.
That sounds time-consuming. If I was on the staff, I'd be like, hey, listen, I've got a quarter. Let's just get it over with. I'm ready to go home.
I mean, I think the problem might be that the actual explanation just went on too long. Where Oxford could be like, I know some people might be confused. We'll have an explanation on Jeopardy.com or something like that. That just might be the answer, to find a way to
but at the same time, how often is this going to happen? So, I mean, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal to me.
It isn't.
I mean, this is what, the first time this has happened or second time in 32 seasons?
It's at least the third, because according to Keith at the Final Wager, it happened once during the teen tournament. Then, notably during the 03 Tournament of Champions, a lot of people got 0 going into their wild card.
I mean, let's face it, the tournaments offer up a lot of interesting moments to happen in them, such as what happens when you have a 3-way 0 tie, or you've got a tie at one point in the tournament or somewhat. That brings out the more rare moments in Jeopardy history.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally prefer this way, obviously 2 different shows than how Idiot Test on GSN did their tie. Oh, you guys are tied at the end of the show, so we're going to see who had the most questions correct. Well, you each only got 1 question correct, so obviously it's the same amount of money. So now we're going to go down to the milliseconds at which you locked in. And I'm like, I mean, I guess, what else can you do? But it's just kind of like I would have preferred to see a tiebreaker puzzle as that would be what I would have preferred to see on Jeopardy would be like, just a tiebreaker. Yeah, again, it comes down to the buzzer, essentially, probably, if they both know it. But it seems better than, I don't know. But that's just my opinion.
I think in that situation, you could do something like that, but again, using Jordan's theory, posted online that they were given a question, the first one to get it's in. And it still keeps with the idea of the game.
That's true. And I just think that if that's the case, they should spell that out at that point, like before the game starts, like just so you know, if this situation should arise, this is how this would be judged. So as long as they say that to the contestants, I don't have a problem with it. But again, it's a topic where it's a little bit of a heated debate, so let us know what you think in the comments section, all 25 of you that listen to this. But that's about going to wrap things up for this episode of CNAOS. Does anybody have any odds and ends they'd like to bring forward before we go ahead and end the episode?
I do. Having taken a look over at the Price is Right schedule, we have the 40th anniversary of Cliffhanger special coming up in April. Can I only pray this doesn't go as badly as the Plinko special does?
Well, Plinko is based mostly on luck, though, versus Cliffhangers is, a lot more on pricing skill.
This is true. And by design, Cliffhangers is a lot more malleable with what you can actually offer as the prize, since you're not guessing the value of the prize, and it's not like you have to drop chips into everything, whereas Plinko is designed by nature to be a cash game where you can just win some other stuff based on what slot it lands in. Cliffhangers, you can play for a car, which they've done. You can play for cash, which they've done. And you can offer any prize in Cliff. And Cliffhangers does not take as much airtime as Plinko does. So 6 airings of Cliffhangers will not only be more naturally versatile, but it will flow more naturally, and we won't see as many edits as we did with the episode of commemorating Plinko. So I think it's going to be fine.
And in general, with cliffhangers, you can make it a lot more easier or difficult depending on what you do or don't want. One, because you can just pick small prizes that are considered quote-unquote easier, quote-unquote harder. Whereas compared with Plinko, or an all-Plinko show, every prize, one would be pretty much luck-dependent anyway.
But that's going to wrap things up. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Contestants Not Appearing on Stage, and we will see you next time. Until then, this is Torgo on behalf of everybody else. See you later. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to Contestants Not Appearing on Stage, part of the Torgo Entertainment Network. For more episodes of Contestants Not Appearing on Stage, check us out on YouTube or online at CNAOScast.net. Does anybody have anything else?
Go Panthers.
Go neither.
Go Jets. Oh, wait.
Okay, fine. Go Patriots. Oh, wait. Our offense shut up.
Adam, you're fighting an uphill battle with that one, especially when The Price is Right is offering a ball inflator as one of the prizes on their Super Bowl show. Regardless of what you think about the Patriots, I thought that was pretty funny.
I'm just looking forward to the Contestants Not Appearing on Stage combine in a few weeks.
When we draft new people.
No, where we all take part in the 40-yard dash and the vertical jump and things like that.
Oh God, we were gonna lose all our subscribers if we do that.
No, what's going to happen is that Nick is going to fall asleep halfway during the 40-yard dash, and that'll just make everything perfect.
You are never gonna let that go for Nick, are you?
Nope.
That's fine.